everybody here in the room with us over here at the Cherry Building, um, up above, what is it, 317 Barber Drive? I think I got, okay, yeah, I got the number. I just pulled that one out, didn't I? Anyway, okay, yeah, so we're here tonight. We always meet in person or do a hybrid meeting every quarter. So normally for each quarter, we would do what is called a quarterly challenge for these hybrid meetings, where we would go out and uh, take a picture of a target in the night sky. Well, we had arranged to do that. Unfortunately, well, April was also the month of the eclipse for this year, so we'll have to put the second quarterly challenge for the year 2024 on the back burner right now, which was taking deep sky images of the constellation of objects within the constellation of Auriga, the Charioteer. So, but obviously tonight, what we're all going to talk about is taking a look at what all of our imagers have submitted to show us their experiences of the total eclipse that came about. Is it like 4 plus 7, so 11 days ago, I guess. Anyway, so let's see. So the way this is going to work, we'll call on to you in the audience if you're here, or we'll call on to you at home, and just be ready when we call on to you. So obviously we have all the stuff in alphabetical order. So first we have up is Alec Hoffman. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, so me and a couple friends went up to Gibson County, Indiana to see the eclipse. Yeah, like a lot of places, they had some cool telescopes with filters set up. So we just have smartphone cameras. We didn't bring any fancy imaging equipment, but this is one of the through the eyepiece images. Uh, when we were getting pretty close, I can't remember if this is just before or after totality. Um, yeah, if you go ahead to the next one. Yep. Yeah, so this is during totality. Zoomed in a little bit, zoomed in for a smartphone to the sun. I really, a lot of the pictures I've seen from more professional photographers, I noticed the corona is kind of condensed, but from where we saw it, there's really big streaks. Like, to me, it kind of looked like big pointy flower petals coming out from the sun. So, kind of like that, you can see that in our pictures. Um, and you can see Venus, I think that was in the corner there. And then if you go to the next one, the last one, that's sort of like a wide angle shot. You can see the sunset, view in the background, and the mostly clear skies. Luckily, the clouds stayed out of the way. So I like this one the most, but yeah, that's our experience. So that's totality for us was 3 minutes, 55 seconds. Almost the longest possible. So this was at Gibson County Fairgrounds in Indiana. Um, so I don't know. We got a hotel in Louisville, so we drove there. It was a little north of Evansville. Thank you.
Thanks, Alec. Oh, me. Okay, Cole. My first name's Chris. So, all right. Well, middle name's Chris. Anyway, okay. So that's my father-in-law's photobombing my telescope. But anyway, but this is my telescope setup that I used. I used a 90 millimeter stellar view refractor as my primary imaging uh, um, optics, and on top of there you see sitting is actually it's a 200 millimeter Canon EOS lens that had got an adapter for the back of it to turn it into a finder scope. And during totality, it was like perfect. It wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. I actually really wanted to use the 200 millimeter uh, focal length finder, quote finder that's sitting on top there, the Canon lens, because it would have allowed me to get a wider field of view of how far out the corona extends. But just thinking about the dynamics of everything I've learned over the years as far as the imaging goes, yeah, if you have clouds in the vicinity or whatever, you want to pull off something, kind of dramatic, you're going to have to go with a longer focal length. So that's why I stuck mainly with the taking pictures with the refractor that you see right there. So we were in Piqua, Ohio, and which think it's about if I remember correctly, it's about half an hour north of Dayton. And so, yeah, there weren't very many of us. I'd say there were maybe about 2 dozen of us. I was the only one out there with a telescope, surprisingly. But it was a nice area, and I mean, I intentionally tried to find a spot that or a town who had restaurants that had less than 100 Google reviews, not bad reviews, but less than 100 Google reviews, and no hotels nearby, which would guarantee me that we're not going to be inundated here. We can, just enjoy ourselves with my in-laws and I and my wife. And so, yeah, good time was had by all. It was about 3 minutes and 50 something seconds of totality where we were. So, anyway, this is the setup I used. So, next one. And I didn't really do a time lapse. All I did was just take an image like once, say maybe every 6 minutes or so. I timed some of them I didn't, but went back to all the picture images that I did take, and these were probably the most symmetrical ones of going from first contact all the way out to, well, I didn't pick up exactly at first contact or fourth contact if you want to be technical about it. But you get what I'm saying. So yeah, right as the moon approached from the west, or excuse me, eastern side of the disk, and when it hits second contact, and then finally, have your totality, and then the last 7 images that you see right there. That's where we just stayed behind and waited for everything to be over with. So, but anyway, next one. So when totality hit, yeah, like a lot of places, there were some form of clouds in the vicinity. So this was maybe about a minute into totality right here, and like Alex picture that she saw previously, you can just barely make out Venus around between 4 to 5 o'clock right there. Yeah, very good. And Steve Izzo, when he saw this on my Facebook page, he thought that it was a giant CME being launched off the sun there with that cloud formation right there. I was like, yeah, wouldn't that be something? So anyway, all right, next one. Okay, so a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll do sort of like an HDR composition of all the try to get all the details from the faint corona all the way into the prominences that you see all around the limb of the moon. It's kind of weird saying limb of the moon when it's actually the limb of the sun, but you get what I'm saying. So I did actually I did 8 exposures. I left one out, but they progressively increased by a length of 4 for each one. In other words, two stops if you want to use a photography lingo. So the first one was 1/4000th of a second. Let's see if I can get this right. 1/1000th, and then we're getting longer. 1/250th of a second, and then 1/64th of a second, and then 1/15th of a second, and then 1/4 of a second, and then 1 second that you see there. One that I didn't include that you don't see here is the 4 second one, because when I went through them all, you can kind of still make out in that brightest shot up there on the upper right there, where the 1 second exposure, you can still see just faint signatures of the corona trying to show itself there out on the perimeter of that big, you know, bright eclipse there in the middle. So, but anyway, so yeah, the 4-second one didn't really lend anything to it. So I decided not to put it in HDR. And then next one, look at the first HDR. So this is the HDR of all those that you just saw. And this is a little bit after second contact. So what you have there, you have some of the western side of the sun, the prominences there on the left, and then of course there's that one prominence that everybody noticed, even without binoculars, or telescopes, or anything. That really intense prominence there down at the bottom that made itself very well known as totality progressed. So, and you'll see that in the next one. And yeah, there it is. It's in all of its glory. I also like that there was a nice little feathery one there at the 9 o'clock position, or excuse me, 3 o'clock position as well. Um, One thing that was kind of, can't really tell. I can't see it on this screen. I don't know if it's like the best resolved. Um, Here, go into about right here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. See, so you see that little signature right there? Oh, signature, huh? What you're seeing right there, that's actually a binary star system. And so it's two stars rotating on a common, I don't know, center of gravity or whatever. Steve Christensen, our astrophysicist, did I get it right? Common center of gravity, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. So, but anyway, I looked that up just to see if that was actually something, in the background, or if it was something my camera was just sensor was picking up on its own. And no, it's a binary star system. It's Zeta Piscium. So it's a star system within the constellation Pisces. So I saw that, and but anyways, yeah, good times were had by all, and my wife and we chowed down on sun-kissed and moon pies because we wanted to do that back in 2017, but of course all that was sold out. So well, just to go ahead and tell you that sun-kissed and moon pies are both sugary, but they don't really go together very well. So unlike totality. So okay, that's it for me. Oh, actually, no, there we go. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so there you go. I didn't really get a good like all out diamond ring image because technically you could say this is a diamond ring with one Bailey bead on the side there. So you have obviously you have the sun coming up over the horizon of the moon, and you can probably just make out a little uh, tiny, well, Bailey bead right there on the left of it, or excuse me, right of it. Yeah. So somewhere between, yeah, the large uh the large, the really large bright spot there, and the tiny bead, Billy bead right there, there's a mountain there that's giving you that effect that explains the Billy beads phenomenon. So okay. but but yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing that if you zoom in on it, here, this, I mean, this, yeah, it's good going to discuss this, but if you just like go around, just looking at the perimeter, you don't necessarily have to look at it where it's pretty or anything. All that jaggedness you're seeing there, that actually, for the most part, is not the atmosphere that's doing that. That is the the topography of of the moon that you're seeing there. So you see all those mountains right there. It's like when valleys that are in between where the sunlight can peek through. That's where you get a Bailey bead like that right there. And so, yeah, everything that you're seeing there is not necessarily a 100% a camera artifact. No, those are actual mountains or ridges that you're seeing right there on the edge of the moon. So anyway, why is it red down? You mean what's that? That's well, those are prominences, right? I mean, a lot of people they thought they were flares. They were saying that a lot at the park, and I was like, I don't feel like correcting them, so just let them enjoy it. And we'll talk about it later if they want. But anyway, yeah, those are prominences. They're these filaments of plasma that come off of just above the surface of the sun. in the chromosphere. And there's actually, if you go to Gong Solar while you're here tonight, look at their telescope, their hydrogen alpha array of telescopes they got out there. There's a really big one of these on the around the 7 o'clock position that I noticed from a post on Discord by Max Gordon. So yeah, he put a H alpha image out there, and it shows a prominence, which is what you're seeing right here. This one, it was just really condensed, and I think that's the reason why you're able to see it so easily. And but the reason why it's red is because it's hydro. Uh, further around, that's the chromosphere. Yeah, that's chromosphere, and then let the little extensions off of it. Those are just tiny prominences as well. So. Yeah, and I think the reason why that is probably well, if you like it, that's cool. I think the reason why that came out that way is probably because it what is it? Uh, well, yeah, exactly. And so one of the things I saw someone do last time that I really was going to try to do this time, but just because the clouds were such a a big question mark, and what I did back in 2017 with the Corona there, it worked out just fine. I was just like, I'll just stick with what I know how to do already and not, not blow it. So, but anyway, yeah. I don't know. Maybe the clouds made it more red. I don't know. Could be. But yeah, because usually I think they were more on the magenta side last time when we were in Tennessee in 2017. So, okay, I've rambled long enough. Anyway. Thanks, guys. Of course, Brian, I'm going to get this pronunciation wrong. Gasal?
So
Brian, are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
I am unmuted.
Oh, okay. I hear you now. All right.
Okay. I
Okay.
just want to say if someone's asked a question, you'll have to repeat it because we can't hear people in the audience there asking questions. So
Okay. Yeah, sure.
okay, I decided to go to Upper Sandusky, Ohio, which was about an hour and a half southeast of Toledo. And I was at a hotel there about 3 miles from the center line. So we had about 3 minutes and 56 seconds of totality. And I kind of did the same setup I did in 2017 when I went to Greenville for that total eclipse. Um, the um, the 110 refractor is more like my guiding scope, and the Canon T6 sitting on top is just piggybacked, and that was the main camera I was really wanted to take pictures with. So the laptop in the big box is running a software called Eclipse Orchestrator. And I used that in 2017. It was fantastic. It worked flawlessly. And with this software, you pretty much tell it what eclipse you're going to observe, the location that you're at, and what kind of camera you're using. And it has a wizard that builds all these different exposure recipe, as they call it, for the different events. First contact, C2, prominences, Bailey's beads, diamond ring, and then it does bracketing for the different exposures for the corona. And so I put that all together and practiced it about 6 times from home, and got that set up. And that's the only thing that laptop did was drive that orchestrator software to trigger the shutter on the Canon camera. The little tablet inside the small box did nothing but guide or show the images coming from the larger refractor. And I was using initially just to make sure I corrected any drift that was happening, which fortunately wasn't very much at all. I was very happy with that. But at the same time, I thought, hey, why not try to take some images through that scope too? So I set the filter for hydrogen alpha, and that's an ASI 2600 MC on there. And I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a try. I told it to do 20 images during the totality or start of totality. And just like Chris, I had the same kind of weather he had. The picture of his clouds was exactly what we were seeing here. When totality approached, it was more, I would say, we were experiencing a lot of contrail issues of planes going in and out of Toledo and heading towards Cleveland. So with the atmosphere the way it was this day, they weren't disappearing, they were lingering and expanding. So a lot of issues I had with some of the images I took was because of this haze and the contrails causing some of my exposures to blow out. So next slide, please. This is just a quick example of what happens with this orchestrator software. It's, plug and play. It tells you what to do, when to do it. It comes out in just before totality to take off the solar filters from your camera. And I just sat back and watched the eclipse. This thing just drove by itself. And it starts off doing, I think it was like 14 partial eclipse exposures, 5 minutes apart for that first hour and 10 minutes before second contact. And then it does exposures for prominences, Bailey's beads, diamond ring, photosphere, and then it'll start, depending on how much time you have, bracketing for the corona with, I think mine was kind of like what Chris's, the 1/4000th of a second was the quickest, and 1.3 seconds my longest. And it encompassed about 20 exposures in each bracket. And because of the length of totality, I was able to get 4 brackets in here. So luckily, we're not going to look at every one. So let's go to the next one. Here's just one of the partial where we did see 2 kind of prominent solar sunspots there. Fortunately, when you this part, these are zoomed in from the actual image. I was using a 300 millimeter lens on my Canon, and this was representative of what we would see with the partials. Next. Here we start to see some Bailey's beads and a little bit of prominences up at the top there. Let's see, this was this was 1/4000th of a second, f/16, and ISO 400. So I did capture a few of these, but I just thought this one was one of the better ones. Next. Now this here was the only good image that came from the 110 refractor. Using an astronomical camera was probably not the best idea, way too sensitive, and I couldn't get a fast enough exposure setting through that ASIR application that drove that camera. So this was, I think that best was 320 second. But it's still, this was the hydrogen alpha filter, and you can start seeing this was some of the prominence activity that was happening at the very beginning of the eclipse. And I kind of like it, even though it's not the best image, it does show a lot of activity that was happening here, and it was probably satisfying. At least I got one image out of this. So next.
Brian?
Yes.
What camera was it?
This is an entry-level Canon T6 Rebel.
That one right there.
Oh, that one there, that's a ASI 2600 MC.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I was like, Canon big. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks.
And then as the eclipse progressed, here again, we see that very bright prominence to the left there. Like I said, this was all being automated while I was sitting and watching the eclipse. I had friends and family there, and most of them have never seen a total eclipse. And I think half the enjoyment was watching them getting all excited about this and just never seen something like this before. But I think what took me by surprise, as opposed to the 2017 eclipse, which was during a solar minimum, that diamond shaped or tent shaped prominence was so bright that people ask me, is that a planet or what's that pink thing right there? And I was like, I think that's a prominence, but I've never seen it so bright before. So that was kind of a treat seeing that. Next. And then we got, again, Bailey's beads here as it's starting to head towards C3. What didn't happen and didn't work well was any kind of a diamond ring because of those clouds. It just kind of blew out the exposure. Next image. And finally, this is the HDR image of, I took the third bracket of the corona and processed this entirely in PixInsight to try to get the best as I could of the as much as the corona inner and outer that I could. In this image, you can kind of see to the left side of the whole image part of a contrail from a plane. But at least I got pretty much what I like is the signature for this eclipse. Anytime I ever see another eclipse picture, I know this is the one that for 2024, because this is kind of the ideal shot of why we're doing these bracketing images. So I think that was the last one.
Okay, Brian. Actually, I really like this one. I mean, I don't know, it's just the feel of the clouds really adds something to it. Gives it almost a mythical look.
I agree with you too. The other one I did in 2017 had no clouds, so it was kind of kind of a dark black background. But having the clouds kind of like that is kind of remind you that this wasn't a perfect day. So
Yeah, seems like if you were like in the very extreme northeast, which habitually would always be cloudy around this time of year, is where was the place to be. So it's like just you couldn't you're
totally.
into something. But all right,
So where's the trip? Where's the trip?
Question? Got any of these images? No? Okay. All right, thanks very much, Brian.
You're welcome.
Hey, John.
Hey, hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little low.
Okay, that better?
Yes, better.
Okay, I was on a sky and telescope tour to Texas for the eclipse. We were at a site in Fredericksburg, Texas, 225 of us. It was apparent when we first got there on April 4th to Austin that we probably weren't going to see the eclipse because the weather was really dismal looking. And this is what I took there. This is an Optron HAE 29 EC mount that I just finished reviewing for Sky and Telescope. And it also works in the Altaz mode, which is how I had it configured for the eclipse. And I made this little Z-shaped bracket to slip it into the saddle there in the Altaz mode. And on one side, I had a 127 millimeter f12 Mac. And on the other side, I had a 500 millimeter Nikon lens and a Nikon D850 camera on both of them. Let's see, can I advance it or you got to, Chris? Okay, here we go. This is Don Pettit. He's a NASA astronaut who's been who met with us on the tour and watched the eclipse with us. He's been on the ISS for 3 previous tours, and he's going back on a Russian Soyuz for another 6 months or a year in September. But he's doing astrophotography from the ISS. Talked a little bit about that, and he has also developed a 0G sippable coffee cup, which he has patented. It's the first patent from space. Anyhow, he's a character. He's in his late 60s.
Did he unveil in there or a coffee cup there?
No, he did not. He just told us about it, and but it is a real thing. He so you don't have to stick a straw in a bag to sip liquid with it. You can drink it just like regular coffee. Uh, hmm. But no, he didn't have one there and didn't show it. But he was a entertaining guy. Next. Okay. This theme of clouds, nobody had more clouds than I did and was still able to see anything of the eclipse. We didn't think we were going to see the eclipse at all. But we never lost sight of the eclipse sun during the 4 minutes and 25 seconds of totality. We did in the incoming partial phases. The sun was completely hidden sometimes. And after totality, I don't think anyone saw the sun again after totality. So we lucked out, but it was heavy, thick clouds, and that prevented any type of sequence of the eclipse or any stepped exposures to combine later in an HDR of totality, because the only part of the corona was the brighter inner corona that you could see or shoot. But this is during totality through the heavy clouds with the 500 millimeter lens.
Hey, John.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, that Maxitop that you were using there, were you going to use that? The image had things been like pristine?
No, I was going to use it either way, and I did. I shot with both of them throughout totality, and but yeah, it's been a while on an eclipse that I've shot any very long focal length. The Mac was 1500 millimeters.
Yeah.
And that actually worked out pretty good, because that was about the extent of the corona that you could see was the field of view at 1500 millimeters. So it was not a wasted item to take. So it actually worked out pretty good. It's a big old sun at 1500 millimeters. So. Next, this is C2. This is the diamond ring effect with some clouds in front of it. Kind of pretty clouds, if clouds can be pretty on a day of a total solar eclipse. But this gives you an idea of what it looked like over the site there. There were clouds all over the sky. There was not a there were kind of patches of pale blue that you could see, but the clouds were constant and all over the sky all the time, and they were moving. It's a real breezy day there in the Texas Hill Country. But this is with a 500 millimeter lens.
Mars there with the sun coming up over the horizon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, next. And this is with the Mac. This is at 1500 millimeters during around mid eclipse, around the middle of totality. So you see the prominences, but you don't see them very well because the moon was almost central on the sun, and it was blocking a lot of the view of the prominences, except the larger ones that extended pretty far out. But this is with the 1500 millimeter f12 Mac. Next. And this is us. This is the tour, 225 of us. We were happy to have seen anything. I can't stress that enough. I always felt that for me, the most exciting part of any total solar eclipse is not the diamond ring or the corona or anything. It's 5 minutes before totality, when you look around and there's not a cloud in the sky, and you really know for the first time you're really going to see this thing. That never happened with us. We didn't know if we were going to see it until we were seeing it. It was that dismal looking for us there. But all 225 of us were pretty happy when it was over with. Next. And this is the outgoing diamond ring. Still have clouds. But I think we were real fortunate that the totally eclipsed sun never disappeared completely during totality. It was muted by the clouds, but it never disappeared. And next, there's that the last one. Yep, that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Brian. Or excuse me. Yeah, names out of order here. Johnny. Thank you, Johnny. Anybody else anybody in here have a question for Johnny? No? Where were you again?
We were in Fredericksburg, Texas. We the tour stayed at an Omni Hotel in downtown Austin, all 5 nights, April 4th through the 8th. And on eclipse morning, we were bused 2 hours to Fredericksburg, northwest of Austin. Took us 2 hours to get there and about 3.5 hours to get back after the eclipse. So,
Well, you got to enjoy 30 seconds longer than we did, so that was nice.
yeah, we were very lucky. We were the luckiest people on the eclipse track, I think, sometimes, because we got to see something when right up until eclipse time we didn't think we'd see anything.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Jay, are you there? Is he there? Because there's a chance he wasn't going to make it, and if he wasn't, I was just he didn't make it. Okay, so yeah, I looked at this beforehand. So Jay Hyman, he's been with us for a while, and so he took this. He said he was going to go out and do this, and well, here it is. He did a time lapse of the partial phases using solar white light filter there. And so past first contact, now we're getting into second contact. And here, I think he was just given a quick speed up of the whole event of totality there. So there you can see the prominence starting to peer through right there. And that's really cool. And there you see the other one. And wait for it. Boom, there's third contact. Got your diamond ring, and the filter goes back on, and so long, moon. See you sometime, probably this weekend. You're out and about. So, but anyway, yeah, so yeah, it was a great sequence, Jay. But yeah, this is like one of the big go-to things to do is try to get a time lapse of everything, and then also try to record the whole all of totality as well. So anyway, so that's Jay Hyman. Thanks. Next we have Morris. Morris, are you there? Oh, you're right there. Sorry. Okay, joining us here in the building, Morris. What was your last name? Lewis. Very good.
So I rarely have enough time to attend Raleigh Astronomy Club events, and I only recognize vaguely some of your faces. So, but this is my opportunity to kind of experience the total solar eclipse. I went to Nashville in 2017, and it was indescribably awesome. So unfortunately, I had to work this time around, and so what you see here are pictures that I took from the back of my office building. So had a little bit of difficulty, getting the corona and the Bailey's beads and not very many prominences or whatever, but I still think it was worthwhile. I passed out solar viewing, glasses to all my associates, so they came out and I was out there taking pictures or whatever, but it was nice. But one of the things that is unique about me, which you may kick me out of the group here, but all my astrophotography has always been analog. I do own several Nikon digital cameras, but I've only done film photography, and so this is kind of an experiment for me to see what would happen if I actually use black and white film. And so this is actually Ferroni is an Italian black and white film emulsion P30, I think it is. It's fairly new out there, and so this is actually taken through a inexpensive 500 millimeter mirror lens, f8, and on a Nikon FE. So so I just brought a couple of the pictures. And the thing about film photography is when it's like, if I were to drill down into the negatives, you can like look at the sunspots that I can pick up, but you get to the point in film photography where you really are captivated by the grain of the film rather than the pixelation when you get to when you drill in. And that's what, if you enlarge that, that's what you see here. You eventually get to the grain. But this particular film is notorious for having high contrast and supposedly some of the smallest grain of any of the black and white films on the market. So who knows? They all say that. But so I just brought in a couple of pictures. This is probably the most coverage that we saw here in Raleigh. So this is what you missed if you traveled to go see the solar eclipse. If you go to the next picture, this is on exit right here. I guess you can even here you can see some of the sunspots. So, but it was cool. But that's all I got to see. So I figured I'd show you what it was like not seeing a total solar eclipse. This is it.
Taking a little closer look here. Yeah, sunspots. Yeah, there were two really large. Well, say really large. They're all bigger than Earth, but yeah, there were two groups that were pretty prominent. There's that one, and then yeah, that one right there. I was able to see both of those groups fairly easily uh, uh, with my 200 millimeter camera lens, filtered, of course, and but yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Steve just brought up a good point. It's like I said earlier about talking about the prominences, what they are exactly or whatever. There's a really big prom right now. Again, from off of memory from a photo that I saw Max Gordon post on Discord at the 7 o'clock position. You can go to a Gong Solar Hydrogen Alpha telescope array, and you'll see some more data on that. But yeah, Steve brought up a good point, or say necessarily a good point, but something that would have been spectacular that's going on right now is we have lots and lots of large sunspot groups on the sun right now. So I can only imagine, we saw that one prominence area. I mean, it was nice and condensed and whatnot that you could see it with your naked eye. But that one prominence that had, that I just saw just a couple hours ago, that's on the edge of the sun right now. I can only imagine what that probably would have looked like. Man, that would have been spectacular right there. So, anyways, is that it? Or so let's see. Who is this? Let's see. Here. Okay, there we go. Samantha, are you there? Samantha Pickard, unmute yourself if you're here. We can barely hear you. Try again. Oh, Saturday night. Oh, Saturday. Satellite. Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, I guess I could narrate these for her. I don't know exactly what her location was. Hmm, anyways, Plattsburgh, New York. Okay, so got some images from Plattsburgh, New York by Samantha Pickard. So yeah, just going off by the title of the images, we have a Bailey Beats image right here. Let's see, yeah, this is probably around third contacts because there's that bright prom there at the top. Yeah, well, you got something lovely there. So yeah, you were told in the chat that this is your first time photographing a solar eclipse or seeing it for the first time. But yeah, no, that's textbook right there of what you would want to see as far as like proms. And this is mostly a Bailey Beads image like like you have it labeled there. Borderline diamond ring. Here, let's move on to the next one. Okay, very good. So you can start to pick up the corona right here in our image. And there's a really bright prom. Looks like around 9 o'clock, 8:30, right in there. That's a very good composition there. I don't know, Samantha, if you could you like type in the Oh, I was gonna say what camera she used. I mean, so anyway, so there's a good Nikon D7200. Do you know what focal length? AT80 ED. Okay, Astrotech 80 doublet, I think is what's what? Oh, 4.6. Okay. Anyway, okay, next one. All right, so yeah, definitely into diamond ring here. Yeah, very nice. So it's got good natural color to it too. Let me look at this on the other screen here. Oh, that's beautiful. That's very nice. So, okay, what you got next? Okay, so all right, so this is getting close to about third contact. I recognize, yeah. See how it's like a little bit brighter there on the at the 7 o'clock position right there, where the sun is about to, where the moon is about to reveal the sun again. You have your, I guess I could just call it the arrowhead prom, and then the little feather one at the bottom. So, okay, next. Okay, so this it's labeled differently.
I think that might be mine. This is Dave.
Oh, hey, Dave.
You told me to put a Z in front of it and that they would come up at the end. I couldn't figure out how to do it earlier.
Okay, yeah, take it away.
So I was in Plattsburgh as well, or actually a little bit north of Plattsburgh. So we actually could see from our venue Vermont, Canada, the Adirondack Mountains. It was just beautiful up there. It was a spectacular day. We got very fortunate. There were some high thin clouds that moved in as it actually was moving towards totality, and they cleared off on the way out of totality. But we were able to follow the entire sequence through. I think one of the most interesting moments for me was as first of all, John Sims and I did a lot of outreach stuff. I think I commented on that in one of the blogs or whatever. So we had just a bunch of people around us who were really enjoying it and enthusiastic. And as it was, you know, like somebody said, a few minutes before to that moment of totality, you could literally hear a wave of roars coming up Lake Champlain, starting from downtown Plattsburgh up to the state park that we were in. It was just remarkable to hear as we were going through. So I definitely took Johnny's and some other people's advice. This is my first total, so I got some shots, but it was also about really immersing myself in the experience, and that part was just we were very fortunate. We had plans to go to Texas, bagged them all when we saw the weather forecast, and drove 1,000 miles up to almost the Canadian border. But it was well worth the journey to have done so. So this was just taken with my Canon SX60. I had it zoomed out to about 210 millimeters, I think is where it was. I just had experimented at home beforehand. I've had the camera for a long time, but hadn't done much in terms of astrophotography with it. But just am very familiar with the camera, so you know, set it up with the proper f-stops, and I think this one was about 1/25th, I think, of a second or so. Maybe a little bit longer than that in terms of the exposure. You know, the prominences, flares were pretty clear, but just a amazing experience that I would, you know, absolutely encourage and support folks to do again. Hopefully next time I'll, you know, because I intend to have a next time, you know, I'll have a little bit better equipment with me, but still was quite pleased. I also had my, you can go forward to the next picture. I think the next one is, this was taken by my sister actually in totality, with that 360-degree panoramic, kind of a sunrise/sunset, and you can see the kind of crowd. We probably had about 300 to 400 people there. that were sharing that space with us. But it was nicely spread out. So, but that was amazing to see that just in the moment of totality. A couple things that you all had explained to me about sort of what to look for as you were going through, and John was very helpful with that too, because he had been to the 2017. The next one. This, I just was experimenting a bit. I have actually I had my good old Zenithstar with me, 66 millimeter, and iPhone adapter on it, and just, was just sort of playing. And this is at the just as totality is ending, and I just sort of stretched it a little bit, and wasn't quite sure if the red in that was related to the flares or what that was, and the because you can see the totalities ending, but I wasn't quite sure what that was caused by. Any ideas, anybody?
Yeah, Dave. So that's I had that same phenomenon with my my exposures as well. So it depends on what time of where in the transit, I guess you could say, in the what part of totality you're going through at the time. You'll get like glares from whatever's going on this that side of the sun. So in this case, there was a lot of prom activity on that,
Okay.
hydrogen alpha activity on that side of the sun's limb at the time, and that's what you're seeing pouring over there. That red
Oh,
there, that's 656 nanometer wavelength hydrogen alpha light that you're seeing coming up.
just in a standard view of the camera, so no
Yeah.
filters, no nothing at this juncture.
Like, well, I mean, did you, well, like anybody here? I mean, did you like look at the eclipse like through binoculars or something, or like just a telescope, just looking?
Yes, I was very fortunate. John actually called me over sometimes to say, you got to take a look at this kind of thing, because he was doing just observing, and it was spectacular to see through his scope.
So
But this was just with the Zenithstar, with the like I said, the iPhone adapter on it, and just had allowed it to do its thing. So
what I was going to ask is did you you probably saw the proms through it? Did they look like they had sort of a red hue to it?
oh, absolutely, you could actually see them, like you were saying, or somebody said earlier,
Your eyes, you
naked eye. I mean, you could absolutely see them in naked eye as well.
yeah.
The
As far as like color goes, with these proms, it's hydrogen alpha that you're seeing. So if
right.
you ever look through a hydrogen alpha telescope,
Oh
so
yes,
it's going to be exactly the same color, and yeah, your eyes can pick it up, the cameras can pick it up, and just depending on what alpha activity is going on that part of the sun that's starting to peek through after third contact, yeah, you're going to get that red glare that you're seeing there. So that's
okay,
absolutely real what you're seeing there. That's the glare of hydrogen alpha light coming from the sun.
thanks, cool. And I think that was it for mine. But just like I said, it sounds like for everybody else too. Just no matter what the range of the experience was, just such a cool experience. Now I'm tempted to try to get to Spain, or because that one's coming up. I think it's in the 25 or 26. There's a couple of others. As a retiree, may may consider adventuring out to there. So
Very good. Yeah, my dad, he's already not my dad, excuse me, my father-in-law. He's already talked about going to Iceland, and I was like,
oh yes, yes.
did a while ago, but okay. So, but anyway, okay. Steve Kirstensen's here with us in the room, and he's just going to go ahead and share his Flickr page. Here we go. Here, actually,
All right. I have a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. My son and I met in Austin, Texas on the 6th. He'd flown in from vacation in Cancun, and I drove from here to Austin, starting on the on the 4th and drove a couple nights. And that was a lot of fun, actually. Now, I went to graduate school in Austin back in the 70s, and total eclipses are a big deal for me because of historical things. My professor, Bryce DeWitt, and his wife, Cecile, took a total eclipse expedition to Mauritania back in the early 70s in order to test Einstein's theory of relativity, which was first done in 1919 by Arthur Eddington. So they wanted to go and do it again. So they went and set up an observatory for the total eclipse to do the same Eddington experiment. And so I've been very fascinated with total eclipses ever since then. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go with them. I wish I had now. In any case, we went to Austin, and we were very dubious about it. As we've already heard, the weather there was very questionable. So what we did was the day before, we looked at some maps and looked at where the totality was, and we saw that the total line, the best line, was going over Gatesville, Texas, which is about an hour and a half northwest of Austin. So we drove up on the 7th and reconnoitered the little town there, and found that the path of the totality, the best, was going right over a Walmart parking lot. And so we said, this is where we're going to go, and hope that the clouds will cooperate. So next day we drove early to get to the parking lot in the hopes that nobody had yet gotten there. But when we got there, there were already probably 10 cars there. And in the end, there were probably 100 cars there. But we set everything up. I had 8 different things aimed at the sun to try all kinds of different ways to capture the eclipse. The clouds were in and out and dubious, but we set everything up. Then at 11 o'clock, the sheriff and the local police and the Walmart representatives came to us all and said, you have to leave. And we said, what's going on? Why do we have to leave? Half of the people had been in Walmart buying things, and we couldn't figure it out. They said someone from the town had come into the Walmart and complained to the manager that all these people were using up the parking lot, and it was a hazard. And so they said, well, we don't care. These people are not causing us any problems. So this person, apparently, according to the police and the sheriff, had called the Walmart corporate and insisted that we be ejected from the parking lot. And so to avoid lawsuits and all of that, they said, you have to leave. So the authorities said, we hate doing this to you, but you have to leave. But we know a bunch of places in town that will welcome you. And so they told us a few places to go. So we had to quickly pack everything up and drive about 10 minutes to a top of a hill where there was a church that had opened up their big parking lot and a big field that they had for people. And there were hundreds and hundreds of people already there. But there was a field that was across the way that was free. So we set up there. And the church people were thrilled that there were these imagers there. And they asked us, please send us the imagers when you're done with it. And we had a fairly large crowd around all my equipment. And my son and I were answering questions like crazy the whole day. And the Sea Star that we had up to track the sun was working fabulously. And we had an iPad sitting on the back of the car that people could watch as the whole process went through, and it worked beautifully the whole time. And so we had a Lunt 60 solar scope. We had 2 Canon cameras with different lenses and filters on it. We had 2 solar can pinhole cameras, and the Sea Star and a few other things all aimed at the sun, and just to see what we would get. And so I'll show you. This is the image that I got. This was with the Canon 60D with a 400 millimeter lens. We had clouds the entire time, but the sun peeked in and out of the clouds as it was going through. And so just as, and I'll show you a time lapse, just as the totality started coming anyway, the clouds parted a bit, and we had about a minute. It was supposed to be 4.5 minutes. We had about a minute of totality that was visible through the clouds, and there were still some wispy clouds. So here's the standard picture we're all seeing now with the prominences and whatnot. But most of that, it's clouds hazing up the corona. So that was Okay, and there's a quick time lapse, very too quick. I have to work on this of the totality pictures that I had. I was just sitting there clicking the remote shutter the whole time. And so I have to slow this down and try to make it better. But that's kind of how it was during totality with the clouds and all of that. So it's kind of, yeah. Okay, let's see. Then there's with the Lunt 60 and a ASI 174 camera. And I have a time lapse of this as well. But my son, who's a visual effects genius in Hollywood, is putting together the time lapse for the Lunt 60. And because there was some bounciness going around because of the wind, and bounciness because of the solar tracking mount that it was on. As the light changed, the mount would change a little bit, and that sort of thing. So he's using his magic in Hollywood to put together a time lapse of this, but I don't have that yet.
What was the name of the mount?
The mount it's an Orion solar seeker mount, but they don't make it anymore. But there's another company that still makes them. So it's a fantastic mount. You can leave it on the sun and it'll just track it for hours. It's quite an amazing thing. And so I've got this one really stupid thing that I did in all of this was when it came to totality, I didn't remember that I needed to bump up the exposure time so that I would get all the prominences and whatnot that you might have seen. So I didn't do that. So all I have is this kind of a thing tracking through the partial. So I have nothing on the totality part of this, which is very annoying, but didn't realize it until afterwards that I needed to do that. Okay, and then there's a time lapse, and this is with what is it with? I have to look on here. Yeah, I guess that's with one of the other cameras that I had. Oh, no, I take that. This is with the C-Star at totality. Okay. And so the C-Star normally has a solar filter on it, but I took that off at totality, and this was done with the C-Star. And I think it's a little bit better than the one with the Canon. And it needs more processing as well, but it's kind of cool. But C-Star is an totally amazing device for almost anything. Okay, now this is with a pinhole camera, something called a solar can, which is a can that has a piece of photographic paper inside, and then a pinhole, and you just aim it at the sun, and it will track the sun. And so what you see here, the part that's on the left there is what I call the Walmart effect. Okay, that's when it was set up in the Walmart parking lot and was tracking there. Okay, and the other part is the actual solar eclipse at the church place. And you see right in the center of that track is where the totality occurred. And the rest of it is clouds and the line of the partial going on. And the rest of it, the stuff you see there is reflections off the clouds, the brightness of the sun off the clouds, that kind of thing. So it looks like really weird, like some kind of a alien creature or something. But that's what the solar can gave. And this is actually my favorite picture of all the ones we did. This was a lot of fun to see. You take the paper out of the solar can in a dark room and put it on a flatbed scanner and scan it. And then you take it into Photoshop and process it. I was astonished that I got anything in this. I've done this kind of thing many times before, but I wasn't sure that I was going to get anything. But I love the Walmart effect. That's really history. That's just my own artistic flair. Okay, and bringing out, playing with the colors until you bring out the sharpness of it as best you can. Well, okay, I'll take credit for it. But yeah, I should use that from now on. Yeah. Okay, and then this was how it's going to play. It would not say it's not going to play. I don't know why that is. Huh, interesting. It's not. Yeah, well, it should just play on my screen here, but it's not. Anyway, there's and my Flickr website has this. This is a time lapse done with an iPhone. I just aimed the iPhone at the sky and just let it go during totality. And this time lapse will show what the totality looked like from an iPhone, and it's kind of cool. And you know, my son took this iPhone thing and processed it in his magical stuff that he uses for movies. No, this is just this. I just put it on the top of a box and said go, and then it made this time lapse. But it's for some reason it won't play here. But anyway, I may have it. I may have it on the computer. But anyway. Okay, let me hit it. Let's see, maybe now it'll work. There you go. There it is. Okay. So this gives you an idea of the clouds that we had, and it's in partial right now, but it's still pretty bright for the iPhone. And then it goes through the clouds, and now it's coming through the clouds again. This is what we get. Now this was another example. We did hear the people shouting from way across the parking lot because they could see it before we did. Okay, here it's coming out of the clouds right now. Now he grabbed it and put a little window in there. All right, so there it is. And then it goes away. So that's the extent of the totality we got. So we were all madly clicking shutters and doing other things while we were watching it with our eyes. So it was a very interesting experience. It was well worth doing, even though we just barely got it, but we got it enough to do enough things that to be. That's true. Yeah, we don't know what it was like over there. Yeah. Okay. That's all I have for now.
All right. Thanks very much, Steve. Darn any. Okay. All right. Well. Oh, okay. All right. So pretty much for every quarter we have or actually was it for every meeting we'll have a talk on a particular subject matter or a show and tell of type of images that the topic that the night's topic will be about. Then after that, our second half of the meeting revolves around images that had nothing to do with the actual subject or topic that we were talking about. So there weren't any in the Google Drive folder for after meeting images, but here, you sure this is just isn't a doctored Eclipse image or something? So no, I totally get it. Yeah, okay. So Steve Christensen's going to show us some of his non April 8th pictures.
What I want to show is this been raving about the Sea Star. And so I've been, for the last 6 months or so, since I've had one, I've been playing around all the different kind of things you can do with it. And so one of the nice things you can do is as a solar mode that you can very quickly go out and in 15 minutes get a picture of the sun. And today there was a very big sunspot cluster going on in the sun. And so you can capture this very easily with the Sea Star. And it's a lot of fun to go out day by day and see the evolution of the sunspots on the sun. And so this is from this afternoon. And it doesn't take very long to process. It's quite easy to do. Let's see now, let's see. And then I've been, since it's galaxy season now, most of the nebulae and things like that are not very visible. This is one I did 2 nights ago. This is NGC 3158. It's a cluster of galaxies. Every single dot you see in there pretty much is a galaxy. And there's this parabolic looking section here. The galaxy that's right at the point of the parabola is the NGC 3158 galaxy, but there are lots of other galaxies there. And that's an inverse picture because it's kind of easier to see that these things were not stars, but galaxies, because they're fuzzy patches. This is the so-called splinter galaxy. These are all done with this little $500 Sea Star S50. And I was wondering, I thought, they're never going to be able to do galaxies with this because they're so tiny in the field, but you can process galaxies. Okay, there's another picture of it, and there's a regular picture of it, not inverted. And this pops up on the screen, and you can watch it. This is about 2 hours worth of exposures, 10-second exposures. Okay, so it's a lot of fun. And there's another sun picture. There's a comet that's out there. I forget the name of it now. I have to look it up. There's a little comet. It's a Pan-STARRS. I think a Pan-STARRS. Yeah, it's a Pan-STARRS comet that's out there. This is a star field in Cygnus, and it's relatively easy to do comets with the C star as well. And that's M12 globular cluster. This is Alberio, the double star, quite beautiful double star. And then these are various galaxies that you can do. M94, yes, M94, and then another one, M100, and then there's the Hamburger galaxy, which is in Leo, part of the Leo triplet. And then you can do lunar is very easy to do. You can recreate lunar pictures. Very good. Okay, that's a different one. Okay, that's M82, the cigar galaxy, and this is this one I like a lot because there's a jet. This galaxy M87 has a huge black hole in the center. It has a big jet coming off of it. It's like 5,000 light years long. And you can see right there in the center of it, that little jet coming off to the right there. That's the jet. And I was wondering whether the C star could catch that jet. And I was astonished that this is like, again, about 2 hours worth of exposure and then processing in Vixen site. And I was really pleased to see that jet. Probably not. I don't think so. You really do have to have it. And various nebulae, I sometimes do nebulae. And there's another bunch of galaxies. And that's M81. This is about 2 hours of exposure. And then there's the comet Pons-Brooks. That's about 20 minutes of exposure, I guess. And various galaxies, I won't name them all. That's the Black Eye galaxy, which is kind of cool. The moon, of course, full moon. And then M1 and M51 and more moon stuff. And was the Owl Nebula. And then you can go on and do other galaxies, and there's another comet one. And that's the antenna galaxies. But this is all C star. No. Yeah. And then various other galaxies and moon, and there's the sombrero and the sun, of course, and lots of other things like that. That's the Running Man Nebula in Orion. And you get another M51, and the Pac-Man, more sun stuff, more moon stuff. So, and zoom in on things. So, and then basically for lunar and solar, you take videos and then you process the videos into the stills. And so this is one of the videos that you get off of it. And the moon you can zoom in on, and then Orion. And then that's part of the Seagull Nebula and Rosette. So, and then there's the Horsehead. All these done with that little $500 system. And so you play with it well enough. Anyway, I just wanted to show you what, and I know quite a lot of people are buying these things now because you can do pretty much anything with them except planetary. You can do a little bit of planetary, but not easily. But for almost everything else, for $500, it's an incredible system. So that's all I have, Chris.
All right. You've been pretty prolific lately, haven't you? Mm-hmm.
start. How they want to get that class.
Mm-hmm. What is it retail for? $500. Okay, very good. Okay. All righty. Well, that's that. And well, I guess we'll discuss it at a little bit on Groups IO about what to do for the next quote quarterly challenge, since we kind of overlooked one. I mean, it is Galaxy season, so we could probably make it about a Galaxy, or if anybody has suggestions, why don't you put it out there on Discord or Groups IO, and we'll discuss it. Otherwise, thank everybody for who are here with me in the over here at the Cherry Building, not too far from NC State University, and thank you everybody for joining us at home, and we'll see you next month.